A very, very good evening, Sunday the 20th of October 2024. My name is Raj Imia. This is one of those Recusant Nine transmissions. There's a link embedded right at the top. It's a buy me a coffee link, and my request is very simple. You buy me a coffee. You've clicked on the link, you found the time to come on here. If you didn't value it, you wouldn't be here on a Sunday evening, would you? Okay, let us continue with this evening. I can only call it as I see it, and this is how I see it. The Labour Party in Tameside need a fixer. They need someone to help bury the dirt of what's gone on there and limit the damage. The chief executive's gone, the leader of the council's gone, senior policy officers have gone, and senior councillors have also all gone. And instead of the government sending in a task force, which is what normally would happen, the Labour Party has sent in a task force of sorts, and they've already appointed the new leader. And my understanding of Tameside politics is they've appointed someone who will, let's just say, is easily malleable, will not rock the boat, and will do as she's told for the Labour Party machinery. So, what does that mean? It means they also need a chief executive. Now, because it's not a government task force, the council have got to bring someone in, and they already are bringing someone in before they've even gone through due process, and that's why Harry Catherall was named. Now, for Harry Catherall to go across, and the reason why I believe he wants to go across is because he is a Labour Party fixer. He was brought into Oldham on a temporary contract, and now he needs to go somewhere else to help the Labour Party manage what's gone on. But for that to happen, for that secondment to take place, three people or three different groups need to agree to it. First and foremost, Harry Catherall. Clearly, I think he's pushing for it, so I don't think there's an issue there. Secondly, Tameside Council. Well, Tameside Council wants Harry Catherall because he'll help manage the fallout. Don't believe the nonsense about him going across to help improve children's services. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Because the person who improved children's services, according to the council itself, is Gerard Jones. That's the man who helped cover up the gang rape of children in this town. As confirmed in Andy Burnham's own assurance review. He prevented witnesses from giving testimony. There's no ambiguity there, it's in black and white. So Harry Catherall and Tameside Council want each other, need each other. And for that to happen, Oldham Council need to agree. So why would Oldham Council agree to its chief executive going across to Tameside? My belief is that the only reason they'd agree is if they can maintain the status quo in the council as is. And so I'm very clear in what I mean by the status quo. I mean the existing set of circumstances that allow the children of this town to be groomed and gang raped, and for that to be covered up, allowed for the millions, tens of millions of public sector, our money, your money being wasted, and allowed for the shenanigans that we've all witnessed for the last 4 or 5 years, which includes, I believe, whole-scale systematic corruption. And if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be here 5 years, 6 years later from when I started. So what does the status quo in Oldham look like? They need another Labour Party fixer. The seconding across Harry Catherall, they need either another Labour Party fixer and or combination of someone who is malleable enough for Arood Shah, and ultimately Jim McMahon, to keep control of the council. Micromanage it, make sure they do as they're told. And for that to happen, for that process to happen, an appointments committee need to meet. And that appointments committee has been scheduled for tomorrow, 10 a.m. That's right, it's meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And this appointments committee, and I'll bring up the paperwork so you can see it yourself. That's the council's own calendar. You can see 10 a.m. appointments committee. And you can see number 5 straight away, exclusion of press and public. They ignore all the nonsense. Local Government Act 1972, Part 1, Schedule 12A. It's all bollocks. What they want to do is make this decision in secret. And the decision they want to make in secret, there are 2 elements to it. You can see Chief Executive's working arrangement is number 6. The 2 decisions they want to make is, one, they want to approve Harry Catherall's secondment and the terms of that secondment. And the second thing they want to do is appoint his successor. What? Appoint his successor? In 10 days from the council being exposed. Once again, we expose this. Within 10 days of the council being exposed and Councillor Lewis Quigg fulfilling the criteria for an extraordinary council meeting, not this Friday gone, the Friday gone before, the council have been forced to advertise and appoint an interim chief executive. That's absolute bollocks. This is a £180,000 job. This is a £180,000 job, and you don't advertise and recruit in 10 days. It's not even 10 days, 7 days. Because the appointments committee are meeting on Monday. Friday, let's say, was the deadline for the applicants. The earliest it went out was the Friday before. This is the chief executive of your town, and they are looking to recruit that person from start to finish in under 7 days. Are alarm bells ringing yet? I know what Arooj Shah's motivation is to keep things as they are. I believe I know what Harry Catherall's motivation is. He's a man who was lured out of retirement, remember? And to delay his retirement is to make as much money as possible. And be considered a Labour Party man, where in years to come perhaps he'll get a lordship. So, exclusion of press and the public. Don't worry. Greater Manchester Police. It's not your jurisdiction. I've already had a conversation with you this week. It's not going well for you boys, is it? Not your jurisdiction. I have my sources. And I've got the paperwork. I've got all the paperwork. The paperwork that they want to exclude the press and public from, we will now go through with you. Leaked to me from sources deep within Oldham Council. First of all, the comedy bit is to try and protect the council. What these idiots did was, let me show you the agenda front sheet first so you can see it. These are the people who are attending, and I'll go through that in a moment with you. Councillors Hinch, Jabbar, Arooj Shah, Graham Sheldon, Howard Sykes, Elaine Taylor, and Councillor Waheed from the sectarian Oldham group, who is allegedly substituting for Cammy G. What's it like, Shoaib Akhtar? What's it like, Shoaib Akhtar, being nothing but a bum boy to the sectarians? He left the Labour Party, remember? Tried to arrange for his mate to become the MP, played the Gaza card. The Pakistani sectarians. Now he's I hear you're looking for a way back into the Labour Party. Ooh, wait until that plays out and what I do. Just wait. So these are the guys. They had the paperwork hand delivered to them. And on the paperwork were their own personal names stamped or, embedded, embossed or something throughout the papers, which would prevent them from photocopying them and sharing them with people, thinking they'll get the source that way. Well, to go 2 steps back, My source was elsewhere. Ouch! What these people are doing is scandalous. First and foremost, they want to allow Mr. Harry Catherall to become the Chief Executive Officer of Oldham Council for 1 day a week. A 1-day Chief Executive. These guys are taking the piss out of you. They are what they're doing is unprecedented, unbelievable. A 1 day a week Chief Executive of a council in crisis. A council, remember, who have committed, if not to a public inquiry, then a Telford-style inquiry, remember? They've committed to that. A council whose own senior officers have gone to the government begging for more money because they are or they're not at the risk of bankruptcy, but whatever they are, they won't let you see the books. A council that has borrowed millions and has wasted or burnt through its reserves. They don't feel they don't need a 5-day Chief Executive. They want a 1-day Chief Executive in terms of Mr. Harry Catherall. I'm trying to work this out myself. Because if I was Harry Catherall, who, by the way, on the verge of retirement, remember, and was only pulled back because Oldham, well, if you believe the story, because we failed to recruit a Chief Executive, I think it's increasingly looking likely what we failed to do was recruit a bent Chief Executive, one who would not do as they were told, one who would not be involved in the cover-up of the gang rape of children, one who would not hand over public assets to dodgy organisations linked to politicians and their immediate family members. Remember, he was called back because we'd failed to recruit a Chief Exec and he's delayed his retirement by 2 years. Well, now, and only then on a part-time basis, remember, he'd only commit to a 3-day-a-week basis. He's going to work for a year, 1 day a week. And he's going to go and work at Tameside Council for 4 days a week. You can see where the priority is there, can't you? What should happen? First and foremost, a Chief Executive does not get seconded. Not for 1 minute should you accept that what is taking place is normal behaviour. It isn't. A council does not second out its Chief Executive for 4 days a week. And then what they want to do is that Oldham Council will appoint an internal candidate as interim Chief Executive for 4 days a week. Appoint an internal candidate as interim Chief Executive for 4 days a week. No. How is that getting value for money? Openness, transparency, any of that? No. The last Chief Executive did not get seconded to the CQC. The last Chief Executive's salary was paid by the CQC and she had both roles, and both the CQC role she had was in Oldham. Not in a neighbouring local authority that had nothing to do with us. It is unprecedented for a Chief Executive of a council to be seconded 4 days a week to a neighbouring rival somewhere else local authority. And the council, when I say the council, we mean Arood Shah, don't we? And Harry Catherall want to appoint someone on an internal basis for 4 days a week. And they want to approve the 4 day a week person on an internal candidate. Remember, interim basis, bollocks, nonsense. Do you know how much they want to pay that person for 4 days a week? They want to pay the internal candidate for 4 days a week £170,000 plus. the add-ons. £170,000 for an internal candidate and 4 days a week. With Harry Catherall still in charge on 1 day a week. This is to make sure, my analysis, if I'm wrong, tell me. If you come up with anything different, this is to make sure that the bodies continue to remain buried whilst he makes his transition. This suits Arud Shah, this suits Harry Catherall, this suits the Labour Party. This arrangement, clearly. So within 7 days, these 3 internal candidates have come forward. Number 1, Emma Barton. Now, if I was Emma Barton, I'd be suing Oldham Council for, constructive dismissal. That's what I'd be doing, because Emma Barton had already been announced as the part-time chief executive for 2 days a week, whilst he was doing 3 days a week. It's in black and white. The problem is Emma Barton has not been savvy enough, and nor has she done all the things that they wanted her to do, I think. Maybe there were red lines that Emma Barton decided she could not cross. So if the council had followed its own framework through, Emma Barton would simply be coming on 4 days a week. They haven't, and they haven't because of an internal power struggle within the council with different factions. And each of these factions now has a candidate. There's Emma Barton, who was first and foremost Arud Shah's malleable chief executive in waiting. Not so malleable, it seems, and not so competent. Remember I reported a couple of weeks ago how there was very little seen of her for the last 3 months. And that was because Shelley Kipling was playing her hand. No, mate. Because she works at Oldham Council full-time. There's no maybe she can only manage 2 days a week, because she works at Oldham Council full-time, 5 days a week, or whatever the full-time hours are. Shelley Kipling has thrown her hat in. Shelley Kipling is nothing but a glorified comms officer. She came across from Manchester Council. She came to most people's attention in Oldham because she was involved in this community ambassador scheme that deployed Irish Immy onto the streets of Oldham to work alongside the Greater Manchester Police and the council with a green vest on. And then when a democratically elected politician, one of your representatives, objected to that, she threatened him and went online and wanted him to remove asking a question. And then it seems she has somehow been involved with Holly Harrison in making a false allegation that the police had spoken to Councillor Lewis Quigg, or whoever it is Holly Harrison claims she's making reference to. So Holly Harrison didn't get that information from anywhere. It was fed through via Shelley Kipling. Now, if I was an opposition councillor, because Holly Harrison didn't reference who it was, any opposition councillor, I would be demanding Shelley Kipling's suspension for attempting to mobilise the police against an elected official because he dared ask questions around how it came to be that a convicted heroin dealer came to be involved in an Oldham Council endorsed activity. Now, we all know what's gone on in the background, but Shelley Kipling crossed the line that day. And Shelley Kipling should be suspended. And irrespective of that, Shelley Kipling has no way got the skills, experience, competencies to be an interim chief executive on 4 days a week. She's never operated at that level. But she is the choice of those who would have someone like Alexander Bogatov appointed into the position of borough solicitor even without interview or external appointment. External recruitment processes being followed. So when Shelley Kipling was appointed in 2022, her agreed salary was £96,000 on a full-time salary scale. So she's looking to double her salary, give or take. Which just shows that she's the wrong fit, but she is trying to demonstrate her suitability for the role by helping go after those of us who speak out against the corruption and criminality that infests our town. So that's Shelley Kipling. You've got Emma Barton. And then you've got this other guy. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. His name is Mike Barker. Mike Barker is also a relatively recent appointment. Let me bring it up. Oldham Council appointed. So Mike Barker will head up the newly formed Integrated Care Partnership in the borough as part of national changes to the way the NHS and councils support people's health. Mr. Barker, who's the accountable officer for NHS Oldham Clinical Commissioning Group, is one of 10 place-based leads appointed in Greater Manchester as the City region moves towards a fully integrated NHS and social care system from July the 1st. This is Mike Barker, who is excited to have been appointed as the place lead in Oldham. He has worked in Oldham for almost 4 years now, and it remains his focus. Councillor Amanda Chadderton, who was leader at the time, it's great to be able to announce that Mike Barker will be Oldham's place-based lead. There are 2 comments on this, and I think it's important to show you these two comments. This is from 2022. Jeremy Craig Weston. On the face of it, this looks like yet another cheesy and overpaid sinecure. This is part of an explosion in NHS bureaucracy, resulting in a near doubling in the number of health service officials since February 2020, a figure contained in a new policy exchange report which found the number of Department for Health and NHS England officials soared to 14,515 from just 7,883 in 2020. So you can see, over the same period, total pay for bureaucrats at the Department of Health and NHS England doubled. So he's a bureaucrat. So what's the issue here? Well, the issue I have with this isn't just that the 3 of these, who are all, by the way, all the 3 existing deputies underneath Harry Catherall on the council's webpage. That's not the problem I have with him. I think someone should ask Mike Barker, or Mike Barker. I think someone should ask Mike Barker to declare his interests, because I'm not sure, and I'm being genuinely, I'm not sure on something to do with Mike Barker. Here you go. Chief Executive Harry Catherall, Deputy Chief Executive places Emma Barton, Health and Care is Mike Barker, Assistant Chief Executive is Shelley Kipling. Yeah, so those are the 3 who my information is are the internal ones being interviewed, even though they'd already announced Emma Barton as the person. Is this your wife, Mike? Is your wife Paula Barker, the Labour Party MP for somewhere in Liverpool, I think? Is this her? Is the person, Mike Barker, who's applied to be Chief Executive of Oldham Council through an internal interview process, is his wife Paula Barker, the Labour Party MP? If you are one of the 93 people who are watching this transmission and finding value in this transmission, please consider using the link at the top to buy me a coffee. You will not get this information and you will not get this entertainment anywhere else, I believe. We've been at this for 6 years now. And the more I see, the more I think, what on earth could surprise me? And then there it comes, something comes along. I think, well, oh my. Oh my. So Mike, I've never met Mike, don't know him. But I think it is important that he clarify and confirm, or Arooj Shah clarify and confirm, that whether an applicant for an interim chief executive role through a backdoor appointment process is the husband of an existing Labour Party MP. So what's going to happen tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? And yes, I had that information shared with me from internal sources within Oldham Council, and I would like to thank them very, very much for making sure that they believed, like we believe, this is in the public interest of exactly what is going on around the appointment of the most senior role in this council. Well, Tracy, if she's married to me, I don't know. I'm asking. My information is there's a connection. I don't know how people lead their lives, private lives, Tracy, or anyone else. I was chatting to a friend of mine the other day. He was telling me all about how he was going to integrate wife number 3 into his life with wife number 1 and 2. Tomorrow morning at 10 in the morning, the appointments committee are meeting. I've shared with you the names of the appointments committee. I'll bring it back up again. Just give me 1 second. So we've got councillors Hince, Jabbar, Shah, Sheldon, Sykes, Taylor and Wahid. So if you look at it, from the outside in, you've got Arooj Shah, you've got Abdul Jabbar, and you've got Elaine Taylor. All Labour, who you will expect to vote in support of what's going on. You've got Graham Sheldon, who's, if he's got any sense, who will vote against what's been taken to this appointments committee, and what they're going to exclude the press and the public from. So if Graham Sheldon's got any sense, he'll say no. Howard Sykes has got any sense, he will say no. And I believe that Councillor Wahid and the sectarians will also have to say no, because they are in a power struggle against Arooj Shah. If they seem to be agreeing with Arooj Shah, it's the beginning of the end for these boys. So look who it leaves. It leaves Hincy boy, Mincy boy. It leaves Mincy. Now Mincy was elected on a mandate to help clean up the council. He's already voted to protect Arooj Shah. He's already voted to prevent a genuine public inquiry that's into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children, that included investigating the public officials and politicians involved. And he's already voted against withdrawing from Andy Burnham's Greenbelt land grab of Oldham. And more recently, he's voted against bringing in forensic auditors to look at the Oldham Council's books. So Mincy boy, I believe, will vote with Arooj Shah. So what is he voting with Arooj Shah for? So there's no ambiguity, and I'm being fair. Maybe that's what he's aspiring to be with Lord Ali. So what Mincy boy will do is approve Harry Catherall, the Chief Executive of Oldham Council, being seconded to a neighbouring local authority for 4 days a week, and decide that he can and should carry on here on 1 day a week. What this man is going to do 1 day a week, I have no idea. Mincy boy will also have approved, if it votes with Arooj Shah, I believe he will, that a recruitment process for the interim chief executive of less than a week, on a timetable that we have no need to endorse, by the way, even if Tameside is recruiting a new chief executive or finds itself in bother, we should not be dancing to Tameside's tune, should we? If Harry Catherall wants to go, so be it. But we shouldn't be looking to recruit, identify and recruit and appoint someone in a week's timetable, should we? So Mincy boy will be supporting that clearly dodgy recruitment process, irrespective of who the people are. And then Mincy boy will be supporting paying one of these three inadequate individuals £170,000 of your money on top of what they will continue to pay Harry Catherall. Isn't that right, Mincy boy? Now, the problem for Mincy boy is that his attempt to have me criminalised has catastrophically failed. He accused me of electoral fraud. The allegations were malicious, and Greater Manchester Police are now backed into a corner. But that's not enough on its own for Mincy boy's integrity to be questioned and his capability and whether or not she should be sat on this committee. Mincy boy has already been contacted by Greater Manchester Police and warned for contacting a member of the public late at night. Phone calls, drunk dialing. How would you like it if your partner was getting phone calls late at night from a counsellor? Would you be happy? How would you like it if you were getting phone calls late at night and your children were sat there? So Mincy boy was contacted, and I've seen the paperwork, was contacted by Greater Manchester Police and warned. Unfortunately, Mincy boy didn't stop his harassment despite being warned by Greater Manchester Police. And he continued, as so often men like Mincy boy do, gets drunk late at night, gets his phone out, wife sat over there, starts texting away. Those texts are now with Greater Manchester Police. He even resorted to using his official position in Oldham Council as a councillor to continue his harassment. The police are stuck because what now should happen is Mark Ince should be arrested, interviewed. I've seen the evidence, and what I've seen of the evidence, he should be charged for harassment. A councillor, a male councillor, cannot get drunk at night and start texting people. It's unacceptable. Phoning them. Pestering them. That's what harassment is, isn't it? And then even when the police contact and warn him, he continues. Clearly high-level conversations that took place in the police, because when I spoke to Detective Inspector Andy Day, when he called me last week, regarding my election expenses, and I said, I know it's Mincy Boy. Are you aware Mincy Boy's under investigation? Yes, I was. Well, what's going on there? In high-level conversations, and I believe it goes all the way to Andy Burnham and his team, is that they know they've got to arrest Mincy Boy, but if they arrest Mincy Boy, all of the plans in Oldham unravel. So they're avoiding arresting him. And I've spoken to the victim. And the victim is very clear. Mincy Boy has caused them and their family alarm and distress. And despite being told by the police to stop it, he has continued. Mincy Boy should be suspended. Is this the sort of man you want involved in appointing the chief executive of our town? How Mincy Boy got himself onto that committee is interesting, isn't it? Because Mincy Boy only represents his so-called The Independent group is him and his sidekick Lisa Navesey. Yes, Mark. Would you like sugar with your tea, Mark? Yes, that Lisa Navesey. Ooh, I can write some minutes, Mark. Can I use my colouring pens? So Mincy Boy should not be in tomorrow mornings. Should someone under investigation for harassment be involved in the appointment of the chief executive of our town? It's a simple yes or no. This is a man who's dressed up as a Nazi, zig-heiled in a meeting, and to this day has not apologised unreservedly to the people of the town, of the borough, for his clearly inappropriate actions, which leads me to believe he is a Nazi. So why is Arood Shah in bed with a Nazi? It's because Arood Shah and the Labour Party need Mincy Boy and Lisa Navesey and Brian Hoban and Hindle. So there are 2 votes taking place tomorrow, this week. The first one is tomorrow, where I expect Graham Sheldon, Howard Sykes and Councillor Abdul Wahid, to vote against Mincy Boy, whilst Arood Shah, Abdul Jabbar and Elaine Taylor and Mincy Boy will all vote for this ridiculous scenario of dancing to Tameside Labour Party's tune, appointing on a rushed basis, unnecessary for Oldham, no need whatsoever, a 4-day-a-week chief executive, interim chief executive, whilst Harry Catherall is still paid by the council 1 day a week whilst he buggers off to Tameside 4. None of this is in the interests of Oldham taxpayers or in any way prioritising the needs of those of us who live in Oldham. None of this is in your interests. So why is Mincy Boy supporting Labour and selling all of you out? What does he gain from this? I'm not picking on Brian Hoban here, because Brian Hoban's not in this meeting. He's not on this panel. He's not on this committee. He's not on the appointments committee. And what should happen if I was advising people in the council chamber, for instance, what I would advise is for the 2 Royton independents, the colouring in sets, dot the dots, Councillor Mark Wilkinson and Sandra Ball. It's 4 of them, isn't there? Sort of genuine sort of independence. They should form a group. And as a group of 4, the independent group that Mincy Boy represents becomes completely irrelevant, and then Mincy Boy should not be on these committees, this one or any other committee, because he's not the leader of anything. He can come in with a big t-shirt and a sign that says leader and a hat that says leader, maybe an iron cross round his neck, wear his uniform, zig heil his way in. But with two councillors, they become completely irrelevant in that council structure. So that's what I'd do. I'd manoeuvre to remove Mincy Boy from all of his committee roles. Head of planning, remember, he is as well. Head of planning, influential voting swing voter in the appointments committee. It's just Aruz Shah's bootlicker, isn't he, Mincy Boy? There's nothing independent about Mincy Boy, is there? So that's the first meeting, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and it was only called after Lewis Quigg instigated what he did. Now, what Lewis Quigg did was he instigated this meeting, this emergency meeting, and the interim borough solicitor, Alexander Bent Bogatoff, backdoor Bogatoff, claimed that the meeting was to discuss the report that comes out of this meeting tomorrow. Keep up with the my word meeting, please. Even though this meeting tomorrow had not been called at the time when Lewis Quigg had submitted the paperwork for an extraordinary council meeting. Lewis, you should have put the Euro millions on, lad. It's what you should have done. So Bent Bogatoff, backdoor Bent Bogatoff, reckons that the emergency extraordinary meeting on Thursday is to discuss the findings of this appointments committee meeting on Monday that you and the press are being kept out of, which I've kindly shared with you what is taking place. Now at that meeting, we have the opportunity for all hell to break loose. And I urge, for those of you who can go, you should go to that meeting, the extraordinary council meeting on Thursday. It's a public meeting, and you should go with your baby oil. So Bogatoff knows that we know all about him. Because this is how dissent works. We'd like to see what the Oldham Times reporter, the local democracy reporter, the new Charlotte Fringe, whatever she's called, says or does. Would you all sat on the front row with your bottles of baby oil? Johnson's baby oil. Alternative baby oils, I'm sure, are available and suitable. If you're of an Asian persuasion, maybe you want to go with the mustard oil. My mum used to use the mustard oil, which is why I said mustard oil. So you should go with the oil. And at that meeting, they'll try and pass through all of this dodgy dealing and present it as though it is normal, acceptable, open, honest and transparent, when it is anything but open, honest or transparent. My apologies, coconut oil. Coconut oil. I think no, David, I'm not. I think it's more what was it called? The Vet Show that used to be on the BBC. Maybe more. I'm imagining that's more up his street. Yeah, we'll let you take liquid. We'll take empty bottles of baby oil. Maybe take some, wave some £5 notes. I can't help you really on that. I'm not really, I'm not at all accustomed to the affairs of models in late night establishments. Right. So that's what's going to happen on Thursday at the extraordinary meeting. They'll have to vote this through, or they'll have to. And really, all I've got to say to all of you is, what's taking place here? If it's not unlawful, if it's not illegal, of course it's unlawful, of course it's illegal, of course it's wrong. This is the most senior position in the council, and everything dovetails from that. And this is what happens when dodgy people are covering the backs of dodgy people, and someone's got dirt on someone else, and someone's got dirt on someone else. Greater Manchester Police should have by now interviewed Mark Ince for what he's done. There's no ifs or buts. They should have interviewed him by now. Graham Sheldon, Howard Sykes. I don't care about the sectarians. I'll be honest with you, I'm never going to support the sectarians. They can have the pissing contest with Darude Shah, and if it works in our favour, great. If it doesn't, I'm not really bothered. Because for me, they're the enemy just as much as Darude Shah is. But the likes of Mark Ince, Lisa Navesey, you all supported. And they went in and they promised. And with Brian Hoban and Hindle, they promised that they would help clean out this council. Yet their actions, what they're doing. And no, my friends in Shaw, you're not winning from this at all. If anything, you're being bribed with crumbs. You're not winning from this at all. I hope you found this transmission of value. My apologies for being slightly late this evening. I will come back after the appointments committee tomorrow. It meets at 10 o'clock. I'll know what's gone on. I'll come back tomorrow afternoon. I'll try coming back tomorrow afternoon, tea time. Probably on Patreon. I'll put a video up and take a Q&A there, so by all means sign into your Patreon account. It's free, by the way, Patreon. You can pay £1 if you want to comment and stuff, but you can read this stuff for free in the main. Sign up to Patreon. We're just at over 200. And I will come back after Thursday's meeting with an analysis of what's gone on. And then, of course, there's a full transmission I wanted to talk through today. I've got lots of other stuff going on that we just haven't got the time for. And I want to focus on this. I think for this week we should focus on this one issue. And you also see for yourselves how Mark Ince votes in the appointment committee tomorrow, and whether he endorses and supports both the process and the appointments, which is outrageous. And then how Hoban, Hindle, Hince and Lisa Navesey vote on Thursday. They need all 4 of their votes to get over the line, remember. I hope you found this evening's transmission of value. My name is Raj Amir, and this was a Recusant 9 broadcast. Very good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.